Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and today we are buttoning up a bunch of the bits and pieces on the run down to the finish line. Okay, so the first job for today is to put my repaired dash back in the car. So as many of you saw, I did some repairs on it and it's not perfect, but it's looking a hell of a lot better than it did. So that's going back in the car, and we can start plugging up some of these wires and trying to work out where they go. No idea what's going on there, but we'll soon find out. All right, the dash is bolted all into place. I haven't plugged anything in or tried to sort of any wiring as yet. I'm just going to leave it for now. It's really hot and sweaty working in here in the inside this car at the moment, so I'm going to move outside for a little while and get back to work on the engine bay and see if I can button up some bits in there. So the next thing I'm going to tackle is here in the engine bay. Now I've got this crankcase breather of it here, and there's also one for down inside the block, this quite large one down the bottom. Generally on most cars what they do is they are put back into the inlet manifold so that any basically oil residue or whatever sort of oil vapors get burnt off back into the car so that they don't just sort of come out and drip on the road. I am going to delete that. I just jumped online and got a cheap generic oil catch can. This thing I'm going to bolt down inside the engine bay and run the lines to that. And one of the issues I was having is the breather coming out of the crankcase is a really large diameter, and the fittings that go onto this catch can are quite small. And I was trying to work out a way. I was going to have to try and get sort of adapters and have maybe some different brass adapters to sort of work its way down, and it would have been really cumbersome and just sort of ugly and silly. But I was just at Supercheap and looking at the heater hoses, and there just happens to be a heater hose for a says it's for a VT V6 Commodore, and it's got this really large end on it, which is perfect size for this large outlet, and then it steps down into this perfect size for the inlet of the catch can. So that's going to make life so much easier. So I'm going to now put this, connect this up, and we'll see if we can sort of mount the catch can, mount the other hose, and get that bit sorted. Okay, so you can see now I've mounted my catch can down low down here. It's a pretty straight run for the breather tube off of the case, and the other tube, I didn't want to run it directly. I didn't want to hide it around this end. There's too much going on with the throttle linkage and all the rest of it. Hiding it around that end is a bit better, or I can just come straight over the top. Either way, that's in for now. I'll just put some hose clamps on it and that'll be done. I realise I do need to set up a vacuum line to the distributor, which I'll have to probably tap into a T over here. I don't know if there's another place to tap it in. So I'm going to have to put a T-piece in this panel here somehow. But for now, I think it's time to get the car up in the air and do something about those brakes. Okay, so those of you who watched previous episodes will have seen that I stuffed up when I put the brakes on and didn't even think about it, and I put them on the wrong side. So basically they're upside down because the bleed out at the moment is at the bottom and it should be at the top, obviously because all the air bubbles are sitting at the top, and I'm going to really struggle to get the air out of them if I don't have them up the right way. So it's time to take them off and swap them around, and I might have to modify the hard lines because I made them to fit like they are now. So let's get them off and see what we can do about making them fit a bit better. Okay, bit of manipulation on the hard brake lines to get them all to fit again, and these are all swapped over and bolted back up, and I'm much happier with the fit. I wasn't, the brake pads before, I think because it's new discs and these discs aren't exactly designed to go with these calipers originally, the pads were just a bit thick. Even at full compression, they were really too tight on the disc, and when the wheel was on, I could barely move it. So I got to use my new toy that I bought recently, my linisher, to try and I just brought the pads down a little bit so that they fit better. Now this is all bolted up, it is time to try and bleed it and see if it bleeds this time. All right, they're swapped around. I think I've got a bleeding, one of these little fittings are bleeding in on the other side. So I'm still not getting a full good hard pedal yet. But at this stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on. I'm going to lift the car up and see if we can make up a clutch line. So I've bent up my rough shape for my clutch line, basically giving this double curve. It just gives it a bit of room to adjust it, to make sure that it actually fits properly. You know, if I'm a little bit short or a little bit long, I can move it and it'll still fit. Benny was nice enough to loan me his brake flaring tool, which is way better than mine. Mine's not bad, but this is much better. So I'm going to go through now. I'm going to see if I can work out how to use this thing, flare these lines, and get the new clutch line in the car, and then hopefully that will bleed. Who knows? That flaring tool is awesome. It makes life so much easier. It makes a really nice little flare in the end of these tubes. Beautiful flare in the end of this every time. Looks great. So, tip for young players: I didn't make the mistake this time, but I've definitely done it before. Make sure you put your fittings on before you make your flare, because you're not getting them on afterwards. Very, very easy to do. In any case, I'm reusing some secondhand flares because I didn't have any. And I definitely have to change the flex line on the clutch. The flex line is quite old. I'll use it for now, but it's definitely something that's got to be changed. Anyway, let's go and see if this will fit up in the car, and then see if we can bleed a clutch. Well, the clutch didn't seem to bleed that much better than the brakes. I think I'm going to leave that for now until I can get somebody else to give me a hand. So I'm going to stick the wheels back on and keep working on something else. Okay, so the next job to tackle is to go in and start looking at the fuel return. Now, there's been a lot of controversial comments. Some people saying returnless is the way to go. You don't need to, just leave the electric fuel pump running and block this end off, and it's fine as long as it's rated to the right PSI. Other people say that the fuel can heat up quite a bit because obviously these are all sitting on top of the exhaust manifold, Australia's hot climate, and also the fuel pump running and pushing against a hard end all the time heats the fuel up. The other version is return line, which is what the car's set up for from factory. There is a return line there to use, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a return. At this stage, I'm not going to use a fuel pressure regulator. I'm just going to go with the fuel pump as it is and see how that goes. I do actually have a fuel pressure regulator to put into the system. I've already bought it. I can't remember what the exact volume is, but it's I think it's like 3 to 7 psi or something like that, which is what you want for these, about 4 psi. I'm going to try this by just stepping it down to a thinner return line. I'm going to run the line around the back of the block and then down the side to the return, and we'll see how it goes. I can chuck the fuel pressure regulator in at a later date if I need to. One of the reasons why I was originally planning on having it on the return, but the thing is I'm pretty sure that this regulator is designed to actually regulate and give you whatever you set on the out pressure, not on the in pressure. And obviously the in pressure is going to vary depending on the needs of the carbies. So yeah, I think I'll leave this aside for now. I can put it in the line later if I need to. So let's get into it. All right, well, I'm pretty certain now all of the fluids of the engine are plumbed in. The fuel and all of the water galleries and everything are all plumbed and buttoned up. So the last thing for me to do today, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to install this, this dash panel now over here, and that'll be another day in the books and another lot of jobs ticked off. And that's another case of 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, when I'm just was bolting this down and realizing that it needs to go in after the window goes in, because otherwise you won't be able to get the rubber over this lip. So I'm going to leave this for now. It's definitely another day where it doesn't feel like I got a lot done. I was sort of flat out and all day, but at least the dash is in and I'm starting to get an idea of what this interior is going to look like. But yeah, there's still a lot of little bits and pieces left to go yet. The engine bay is mostly ready to go, so in any case, I am definitely out of time, so that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, in 1978, the Brabham Formula One engineers were coming up with all different types of ways to get the edge over their competitors. The car to beat was the Lotus 79, which was the first car to take full advantage of ground effects. The Brabham team's answer to this was to put a large fan on the back of the car. Designed by Gordon Murray, it generated a huge amount of downforce by sucking air up from under the car. Although the rules stated moving aerodynamic devices were not allowed, the Brabham team stated that its primary function was for cooling. Other drivers complained that it picked up stones from the track and shot them at following cars. The officials reviewed it and ruled that it would be permitted for the rest of the season, but in the end, Ben Eccleston decided to withdraw it. He wanted to maintain harmony between the teams. Brabham, however, did win that race, incidentally, with Niki Lauda behind the wheel. In fact, many years later, Niki Lauda in his book wrote about how he had still driven it very conservatively, so as not to let the other teams know how much of an advantage it gave them.
We're getting close. We're getting close to startup, which is really good.
No, famous last words makes me nervous when you say that. It's like our house. When you bought it, he said, "Just use a lick of paint."
In any case, I still have a lot of wiring to do. That's going to be the difficult part. But either way, that's all I have for this week. So.
And all joking aside, I think we really are making progress. So it's coming along.
The dash is in there. The whole car is starting to feel like it's really coming together. So, all right.
Okay.
As always, like, subscribe, hit the little notification bell as well. Let you know when there's something new up, and
T-shirt to help us out.
Yeah, get some merch and all that sort of stuff.
We'll see you next time. Bye,
see you guys.
The Brabham's teams aren't stated moving, or thought primary devices were caught primary functions. The driver's complaint. But in the end, Brabham done.